Higher television ratings, higher attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it. But you didn't do it. You were a bit hesitant and reluctant and resistant to it. So much so you didn't push for her to be on Team USA. So much so, you had people like Cheryl Swoops who didn't even want to mention her name. Then are you willing to admit how stupid it was for y'all not to go all in speaking your piece to elevate Caitlyn Clark? So therefore, even more attention could have come and y'all could have reaped the benefits? Now you're going to do it anyway, and I get that. But you see my point? And everybody talking about other WNBA players not being appreciated. Nobody insulted them. Nobody dismissed their contribution. We were simply saying, despite the contributions for years and years and years, a lot of people didn't care. Fair or not, until Caitlyn Clark came along. But if you went the opposite direction, it could have helped that much and facilitated you being in an even stronger position to get yours. But you didn't do it. You didn't do it. Wow.
Stephen A. Smith rarely minces words, but his recent fiery indictment of the WNBA's handling of Caitlyn Clark wasn't just commentary. It felt like a 5-alarm warning for a league standing at a critical crossroads. With Clark's unprecedented popularity injecting a jolt of energy, attention, and revenue, many expected the WNBA to fully embrace its new superstar. Instead, a perplexing narrative of missed opportunities, perceived slights, and questionable decisions has emerged, begging the question, is the WNBA truly ready for the phenomenon it has on its hands? Or is it, as Smith suggests, fumbling the biggest growth opportunity in its history? This isn't just about one player. It's about the future of an entire league and whether it can seize the moment it has long awaited.
They were going to let her know she was Rookie of the Year with a phone call in Connecticut during a practice before a playoff game. You can't make this up.
One white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another. It's a balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars, but corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players much more so than they were 5 years ago.
Don't tell me Caitlyn Clark gets a special whistle ever again. One call was an ejection and the other was a common foul. Now, let's replay this one more damn time. Y'all can see right here. This was the exact same damn play. Look, same play, bro. Look at this. Are you serious right here? Boom. Same play.
Flushed by Williams at
half
play.
court. Now, Grant Williams was ejected for that.
The Caitlyn Clark effect is a phrase that has quickly entered the sports lexicon, and for good reason. Before she even officially stepped onto a professional court, she was a household name, a record breaker who had already proven her ability to draw massive audiences. We're talking about a player so impactful she was filling arenas and shattering television ratings while still in college. Her matchups became must-watch events, drawing viewers who had never tuned into women's basketball before. When she declared for the WNBA draft, the expectation wasn't just that she'd be a great player, it was that she would fundamentally change the league's trajectory. And by many metrics, she has. Viewership numbers have soared to unprecedented heights, with games featuring Clark routinely breaking network records. Attendance figures are through the roof, with arenas selling out and ticket prices skyrocketing whenever the Indiana Fever come to town. Merchandise featuring her name flies off the shelves, a tangible indicator of her immense popularity. The economic impact is undeniable, injecting millions of new eyes and dollars into women's basketball and providing a level of exposure the league has only dreamed of for decades. Clark didn't just join the league. She arrived like a force of nature, a whirlwind of talent and charisma that immediately commanded attention and reshaped the landscape. Yet, despite this undeniable surge of popularity and economic potential, a strange sense of hesitation has seemed to hang over the league's embrace of its biggest star. It's as if the WNBA, for years clamoring for mainstream attention, is now almost allergic to the level of it that Clark brings. This perplexing reluctance and perceived resistance from some within the league to fully embrace Clark's popularity has manifested in ways that left fans and analysts scratching their heads. Perhaps the most glaring example, and one that drew significant ire, was the controversial decision to leave her off the initial roster for the Paris Olympics. Here is arguably the most popular basketball player in the country, a global topic maker who had already proven her ability to draw international attention, and she wasn't deemed one of the 12 best to represent the US on the world stage. The outcry was immediate and intense, fueling speculation that the decision wasn't solely based on on-court performance, but perhaps a reluctance to further elevate a player who already commanded so much of the spotlight. It felt like a missed opportunity not just for the Olympic team, but for the WNBA to showcase its biggest star on the grandest stage. Adding to the confusion and fueling the narrative of the league's questionable handling of Clark are the public statements from the very top. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has on multiple occasions appeared to downplay Clark's singular impact. Her repeated insistence that no league is ever about one player, while fundamentally true in theory and perhaps intended to highlight the collective talent in the league, landed with a tin ear in the face of overwhelming evidence that Clark is the primary driver of the current surge in interest. It felt less like a statement of fact and more like a deliberate attempt to redirect attention, a corporate talking point that failed to acknowledge the undeniable reality that Clark is the engine of this unprecedented growth. Imagine the NBA during Michael Jordan's rise trying to argue that the league wasn't about one player, or acknowledging LeBron James's impact by immediately pivoting to mention other players. It's a baffling stance that makes you wonder if the league's leadership truly grasps the magnitude of the moment and the need to capitalize on the star power that is generating it. These statements, intended to perhaps promote parity, instead came across as dismissive and out of touch with the very fans who were tuning in because of Clark. Beyond the marketing and messaging, concerns have also mounted regarding the on-court treatment of Clark, particularly the officiating. The critics point to a perceived double standard, where opponents seem to get away with overly aggressive, sometimes dangerous, fouls against her, while Clark herself receives questionable technical fouls for seemingly minor infractions. The viral moment where she was teed up for lightly tapping the stanchion after a missed shot became a symbol of this frustration, sparking outrage and accusations of bias. While physical play is and always has been a part of basketball, the lack of consistent calls and what appears to be a slow or inadequate response from the league office to address player safety when it comes to their biggest draw is deeply troubling. It leaves fans wondering if the league is protecting its most valuable asset or allowing her to become a moving target, potentially risking injury. The focus on controversial calls and physical confrontations detracts from the game itself and fuels the perception that something isn't right. The missed opportunities to fully capitalize on the Caitlyn Clark effect extend to the league's marketing efforts. When Clark was rightfully named Rookie of the Year, a monumental achievement given the hype and pressure she faced, the announcement felt strangely understated. Reports suggested she received a phone call rather than a public celebration befitting the occasion and her impact. This stands in stark contrast to how previous rookies, even those with significantly less fanfare, were celebrated with fanfare and dedicated media appearances. It's these seemingly small but significant missteps that contribute to the narrative that the league is not fully prepared or willing to put the marketing muscle behind the player who is undeniably driving their current success. Even basic things like keeping enough of her sought-after jerseys in stock have been a challenge, a basic supply and demand issue that a league eager to capitalize should have anticipated and managed effectively. Every time a fan can't buy a jersey or a major milestone passes without significant fanfare, it feels like a swing and a miss for the league. Beneath the surface of the WNBA's perplexing approach to its biggest star lie uncomfortable and complex tensions that have unfortunately become part of the narrative. Discussions around privilege, race, and perceived jealousy have become intertwined with the Caitlyn Clark storyline. Some commentators and even some players have suggested that a portion of the resistance to fully embracing Clark stems from her being a white player receiving unprecedented attention and marketing opportunities in a league historically dominated by Black athletes. While acknowledging the historical context and the need to ensure all players are celebrated and receive equitable opportunities is crucial, weaponizing this to minimize Clark's impact or justify perceived negative treatment is counterproductive and fuels unnecessary division. The reality is that Clark's popularity is a rising tide that has the potential to lift all boats, bringing more attention, investment, and opportunities to every player in the league. Focusing on these divisive narratives, whether from outside commentators or within the league itself, distracts from the incredible progress being made and the shared goal of growing women's basketball. It's a complex issue with valid points on all sides, but one that needs to be navigated carefully to avoid undermining the league's progress. The WNBA is at a pivotal juncture. Caitlyn Clark has delivered a level of mainstream attention and potential revenue that the league has only dreamed of for decades. The coming years will reveal whether the WNBA's leadership can move past any perceived hesitancy or internal politics and fully capitalize on this moment. If they can fully embrace the star power, address the officiating concerns with transparency and action, and implement a marketing strategy that effectively leverages their biggest asset without alienating their existing fanbase, the potential for sustained growth and a true cultural footprint is immense. This is a chance to solidify the WNBA's place in the sports landscape, to create new opportunities for all its athletes, and to inspire the next generation of players and fans. However, if they continue on a path that appears resistant or unprepared to fully embrace the Caitlyn Clark effect, they risk squandering a once-in-a-generation opportunity, leaving fans and analysts wondering what could have been and potentially slamming the brakes on the league's exciting momentum. The choice is clear, and the future of the league may very well depend on the path they choose. Will they ride the wave or get left behind?